Hey guys, welcome to our final session of Dune Club. I cannot believe it's already been 6 weeks. We've spent 6 weeks in Arrakis together. It's been so crazy. We've had fun times, we've had sad times. It's been so much. Like I said, I really can't believe it's already over. I know you don't want it to end. I don't want it to end either, Melissa. I don't want it to end either. But yeah. Oh, thank you, Secretus Aquasic for your subscription. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're just gonna chill out here for a minute and let other people join up. You know, we got some stragglers, usually some stragglers. But yeah, I told you this was gonna be a sad book. I told you this was a sad book, and I think I warned you all that it was going to be very sad, and I think it was. By the way, you hear that bonking? Do you hear that? Hold on. You know what that is? Somebody... What is that, guys? What do you think that is? This bonking. Do you hear it? Yeah, it's little Beans' tail. Whoa, it's little Beans' tail. Whoa, Beans! Beans just turned... Fuck. Beans is hitting keys and like fucking things up. Hold on, let me get this keyboard away from you, Beans. I'm gonna press the keyboard. It's me today. I'm doing it. She's very violently flopping her tail. Very violently flopping her tail on the desk here. She's decided she's gonna set up shop. She's right here, like on the desk, flopping her tail, living her best life. Beans is here she's like, I'm gonna be here for the final session. Whoa! Oh, Beans. Oh, Beans Club. We should do a Beans Club. We should do a Beans Club where we talk about beans every Sunday. Yeah. I know, she does Mew on cue. Oh gosh, she's like a cartoon cat. She's very feisty right now. She's like super spicy beans. She's a super spicy beans right now. You'll buy a beans box. What goes in the beans box? We should have a beans box though. We should do more. It's a beans swag. We have like
Camera 2, you can cut to beans cam.
Oh, I can cut to beans cam.
Yeah.
Camera 2. Here we go. Oh, it's not.
Oh, it went out. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Boo. Yeah, well, yeah, it's not on. The light isn't on the thing.
All right, well, never mind.
Never mind. Tyson got us all excited for nothing. He set up a beans cam real quick, and did not happen. Yeah, Beans hair. You know what? I could give you all some Beans hair. I can just brush. I use the Furminator, and I'll just, hey, don't chew on that cord, Beans. Quit being bad. Yeah, we can give you some Beans hair. I can put some Beans hair in there. Yeah, the Furminator, guys. The Furminator is where it's at. The Furminator is where it is at. That will get a lot of the undercoat out of your animal. It's for dogs and cats, and it really helps them to not shed so damn much. You know. Oh, nope. There she is. There she goes. All right. Optional Beans plushie. There's not enough beans for everyone. There's plenty of beans to love here. So yeah. Thanks everybody for showing up. We're almost up to 300. I like to wait till our counter is up to 300 because when we first started Dune Club, our first Dune Club session, we had like 500, you know, but the first one you always have the most people show up for the first one, and then like as the book club goes through, it kind of like dwindles. That number gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But this time it's actually been really consistent because it dropped down to 300, but it's been maintaining at 300 for a little while now. So for like every week, 300 people have been showing up, which is like really fucking awesome. It's like, wow, like 300 people, you know, it's like, think about that, 300 people in a room, you know, like teaching a class, and you have like 300 students in your room, you know, it's like, that's a lot. Like, it's just like when you think about like YouTube numbers where it's like, oh, you need to have a million fucking people, and it's like actually like 300 people reading a book and like showing up and like actually being there for each live session is really amazing. Like, that's a really big number. Like, it's not impressive to most people, but I think that's pretty impressive. Yeah, you guys are my Fadakeen. That's true. The 300 Fadakeen. That's true. That's true. I know you guys really are like, yeah, you guys are my true Fremen warriors. That's for sure. You guys are my true Fremen warriors because, you know, Dune Club, a lot of people aren't hard enough for Dune Club. A lot of people aren't hard enough for Dune Club. It's not easy. It's a commitment. It's a commitment, you know? It's just like, yeah, bless the fighters. Bless you guys. I know. We got like 5 people. We're going to wait for 5 people. We need 5 people to show up. We'll get our 300. And then we'll fucking rock this shit. By the way, I just want to let you guys know that if you're interested in getting any of these Dune Club shirts, there is some extra larges. There's like 10 extra larges left and then like 6 extra larges left. But the larges, the mediums, and the smalls are sold out. So, and that's the rest of the shirts. That's it. So once we're out of these shirts, like we're gone. We're not printing more of them. So if you want to get your Dune Club shirt and you're an extra or extra large size, then, or you want to wear a shirt that is those sizes, then now is the time, my friends, because there are they're flying off the shelves, flying off out of the cubbies. I have them in a nice cubby. I have a nice like cubby station that I made. Yeah. You know, I'd like to print more, but I'll print more Dune stuff like next summer, you know, because I do want to do Dune Club 3 for next summer. I do enjoy doing these books in the summertime. I saw some of you guys just talking about how, I know, supplies won't last. You guys talking about how we should just keep going, you know, just keep doing Dune, like do straight Dune. And there's a part of me that thinks that's an awesome idea. There's a part of me that's like, yes, that would be really fucking cool. But there's another part of me that's like, I can't, I'm not smart enough. I'm not hard enough. I need to take breaks from Frank Herbert's Amazing World because it is so much to carry around in my head. And so I have to like kind of take a break and then come back and then do the next one. And I also like doing Dune Club in the summer because it's hot and you're on a desert planet and then it's hot outside. And I love that. I think that's really great. And so I'm like 99% sure that we're going to do Exorcist Club next. I was thinking 2001 a book club.
No, you need to do a vote on it.
I was thinking about it. Well, you guys, I mean, let me know in the comments, you know, Exorcist Club or 2001 Club. I'm going to do 2001 Club eventually. It's going to happen. It's not like it's not going to happen. Like that's definitely fucking happening. But I think that I'm interested in doing Exorcist Club for the winter quarter, you know, or for the winter semester. I think that would be really cool. The power of Christ compels you to join Exorcist Club. And I have so many good ideas for the box. And like, I don't know, I'm just like really, I turned 33 this year, and that is the age that Christ was crucified. You know, it's a mystical number though. 33 is a very powerful number. And so I've been really thinking a lot about Christ a lot this year. Just like, how am I going to be, what cross do I have to bear? What cross am I dragging up a mountain? How am I going to be crucified this year? You know, like what's going to happen for me? I know, like Tyson's shaking his head, but it's like, these are valid questions to ask yourself. You know, these are valid questions to ask yourself, in my opinion. And so getting into Exorcist Club would give me an excuse to dive deeper into mysticism and Christianity and things like that, which I'm already kind of thinking about anyways right now. I think that would be really fucking cool. And also I want to like learn more about Catholicism, specifically the Jesuit arm of Catholicism. And the Jesuits are front and center in The Exorcist. Damien Karras, the priest Damien Karras, who helps to exorcise Reagan, is himself a Jesuit priest. And so I think it would give me a really great excuse to like dive into that. And then, so I think that'd be really fun. And I had an idea. Okay, so I was like thinking, I was talking to Josh about this while we were working out. And like, I was like, first of all, we need to get you a priest outfit. The internet would love it. Okay. And then also I would want to be, you know, being like a possessed girl, that would be really, people would expect me to do that. I think that's like really expected. But I would rather just do that Pazuzu face, like that face that just flashes in the movie, like here and there, and it's like white. It's got these messed up teeth, and it's like black, and then it's like these like eyes. I want to go straight for demon. I want to do the demon face. I think that would be really cool. The letter F is down for buff priest Josh. I know, right? I was like, dude, they're gonna love it. And he was just like, oh, like, I don't know, like he's a Capricorn, like just like Tyson, so they're both like kind of camera shy, where they're just like, I don't know, I am not comfortable with this. And it's just like, oh, you better get comfortable with it. All right. The internet's going to get real comfortable in it. So I see someone saying sacrilegious. What is sacrilegious? What part is sacrilegious? Why are we yelling sacrilegious? Although I do think it'd be cool. To do. I kind of want to like simulate, do a communion sim, and in the Exorcist box, I do want to have like a little juice and a little like wafer and have like a body and blood of Christ thing, and then do like before like our first session, we could do like a Holy Communion thing before we get into it, because we want to like get ready to talk about demons and stuff. You want to open yourself up to this stuff so that you can have a protection. You take the body and blood of Christ so that you're protected against this stuff. And it would also, I think, be really cool. Like, I know that a lot of people would maybe think that's really sacrilegious, and like I could possibly get in trouble for doing that. I could possibly get in a lot of trouble for doing that. But I feel like it would be interesting in a lot of ways, just from an anthropological situation, because there's a lot of people out here who've never experienced communion. So it'd be fun to kind of have that experience. I think that'd be kind of interesting. And then for people who have done it in a while, it'll be fun to do it again. It's like, and for people who do it all the time, then they'll be like, you can tell me if I'm doing it right or not. You can tell me if I'm fucking it up. So I don't know, but yeah, I'd have to look into. I know how. Yeah, it's just bread and wine if it's not blessed. Well, I'd like to do a blessing over it. Of some sort. But I would have to look into communion ritual. I've never experienced. I kind of, unfortunately, when I was going through, when I was in Sunday school, and I did what is it? Oh, fuck, what is it called? When you like, I wasn't baptized as a baby. Like in my Protestant Methodist situation, it's like you don't get baptized until you, as a thinking, aware teenager, you take this class, and then you go through all this class, and then you choose to like be baptized. And so I wasn't baptized till I went through this class. What is it called? Oh, it's like catechism, confirmation. That's what I'm saying. Catechism is for Catholics. Confirmation is for the Protestants. So I went through a confirmation class. But in my confirmation class, which was actually really dope, we went to all these other places. Like we went to we did a Jewish temple. We did Black church. There was a Catholic, but I missed Catholic Sunday because my parents were divorced, and so every other Sunday I was with my mom, so I missed like half of the classes for my confirmation, and I was kind of bummed because even though I was appreciating not having to wake up early because I hate waking up in the morning, I was bummed that I missed Catholic Mass, and I never got to experience Catholic Mass, because I think that would be something that would be really interesting. But you know what? Honestly, I could just go do that. I could just go do that right now, like if I wanted to. I mean, not right now, but like I could just go to a Catholic Mass. I don't know if I'd be welcomed, but I could go and experience it and just see what the deal is. I mean, I think that would be interesting. But yeah. So anyways, okay, guys. Well, we got 338 on board, so we got a lot of Fata Keen here today. Some people showing out for our final session. Let's get into it. Catholic Mass is really boring. It probably is, but I just want to see what it's about. It's like it's probably really boring, but I've never experienced it, so it'd be a new experience. I think it'd be really interesting. Yeah. So, so yeah. Let's see here. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Let me get my stuff ready here. Let me pull up my notes. I have to write a Word document. It's got all my stuff in it. So, all right, guys. Well. Welcome to our final session of Dune Club II, Session 6. For the session, you should have read pages 277 through 331, so 277 to the end of the book. And yeah, let's start with our overview. Our final session of Dune Club II begins with Alia ODing on a massive spice load in an attempt to penetrate the muddy waters of time to see what Paul has seen, and is saved when hate intervenes, calling the royal physician to pump her stomach. During her trip, Alia is horrified when she finds the shadowy father of her future children is none other than her brother. Hate admits his love for her and stays with her while she recovers. Later, the gang has traveled to the desert for Chaney's birth. and she is standing in Siege, looking out over the sands as the storm approaches. Hate comes to bring her inside and calls the medics when he realizes the babies are coming. She is whisked away. As she is whisked away, the Ghola comes to realize Bajaz has rigged him with a compulsion. Meanwhile, Muad'Dib is dealing with affairs of state, signing treaties, and generally going nuts. Hate comes to warn Paul of his deadly programming when Paul feels Chaney die. The Emperor turns to the Ghola and says the magic words that sets off Hate's compulsion, and the consciousness of Duncan Idaho is freed when he overcomes his deadly impulse. Duncan takes Paul to see his royal twins and say goodbye to Chaney's corpse when Alia comes bringing Lichna/Scytale, who tries to barter with the Emperor under the threat of violence to his imperial babies. Now truly blind, Muad'Dib uses the eyes of his children to calculate a deadly knife throw and kills the Leilaxu agent. Paul names his children and is tempted a second time for the life of his beloved by Bajaz, who is promptly killed by Duncan. With his vision gone, Paul walks into the desert in the Fremen tradition, cementing the desert people's loyalty to House Atreides. Hate goes to comfort Alia, now Imperial Regent, who grieves for her brother and takes solace in her lover. All right. Wow, it's a lot of stuff, guys. It's a big finale. So our first chapter is Alia ODs. And man, I just really love this chapter. It was so romantic. This was the most romantic overdosing scene. It was a very romantic overdosing scene. I was like really into it. I was super stoked on it. So Hate, you have Hate, and he's kind of like stalking his crush. Like he's like watching Alia from afar, kind of stalking her a little bit, and he sees her, and she's going through the courtyard with her people, and she leaves her temple. And he has no idea that she has just taken the largest dose of spice that she's ever attempted. Okay, this is a lot of spice. She's just taken a lot of spice. Okay, and she's getting ready to trip balls. Okay, and potentially die. Trips so hard that she trips into the other side. And when he finds her, she's just beginning her trip. She's looking out over into the city. She sees this ball bouncing back and forth that this kid's playing with. She's thinking about how her consciousness is bouncing back and forth through time. And I love that in her heightened awareness, Alia saw him with intense clarity, the dark, lively features dominated by those glistening metal eyes. He was a union of terrifying opposites, something put together in a shockingly linear way. He was shadow and blazing light, a product of the process which had revived his dead flesh, and of something intensely pure, innocent. He was innocence under siege, So now that she's tripping balls, she's got a heightened awareness, and she sees this man that she kind of has a crush on, that he's kind of got a crush on her. She sees her crush, and she sees that he is innocence under siege, and that is part of the reason why she finds herself, in my opinion, so attracted to him. His innocence is very attractive to her because she is a person who never had a chance to be innocent. Her innocence was ripped away from her while she was still in the womb, when her mother took the water of life, and she had her consciousness opened up to all the other consciousnesses that came in, all the other Reverend Mothers. And she never had a chance to be innocent. I mean, she was born an old woman who's had thousands of lives and experiences, in her memory. So the spice trip is ramping up, it's like she's just started. She's got that tingle. And I love the way that Herbert describes it, because it very much does remind me, it's a very accurate description of what happens when you take hallucinogens, where you're just you start feeling it, but you just have to kind of steady yourself. And then part of you is like, what have I done? Why did I? It's like a roller coaster when you're going up the roller coaster, and it's like tick, 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 and you get to the very top and you're like, what have I done? Right before you go into your trip. I thought it was really well done. And so So during this, like, and she's done this spice trip she wants to see where her brothers has seen, whatever, but she's also doing this to, like, face her demons. This is about, like, facing some shit that she doesn't want to face, look at some things that she doesn't want to look at. And Hate is there, and his Zensuni training is perfect because, like, he can go back and forth with her and help lead her and guide her through this trip. He's like the trip sitter. Guide her through this trip and lead her to these unpleasant revelations, but be there to support her while she is these revelations become conscious to her. So they start talking, but this is like, so they start talking. He has no idea she's tripping right now. She starts stumbling around. He's like, whoa, are you okay? Like, oh gosh, and then she starts talking about, like, she starts this whole thing, like, when she's talking about her not being able to escape her Bene Gesserit training, or her heritage, I should say. And she starts off by saying, like, part of me knows the sacred urgency of the breeding program and its products. And he replies to her, it's said that the Bene Gesserit never let go. And I love that when he says this to her, he notices that she is, like, holding on, like, white knuckles, like, holding on to this, like, what's around her, it's like, but it's like she's as a Bene Gesserit, she is Bene Gesserit, and she's holding on, like, she can't let go. I thought that was, like, a really beautiful extra thing in there. And then, and she's like, well, the Bene Gesserit, they want a child, they want to control one of Paul's children. They couldn't control Paul, but maybe they can control the next deal. And they want to either control Cheney's baby or they want to control my baby, and he's like, well, are you with child? Is there a baby in play here? And of course she is fucking, like I said, tripped out on time. And then she's like, my baby, have I had a baby yet? Am I pregnant right now? Am I not pregnant? Like, she's just, like, really, like, set loose in time. And then she's trying to look into, like, who's my baby daddy? Why can't I see my baby daddy? Like, I feel that there's this shadowy figure, like, I know that I feel that there's a child in my future. I feel this child. Much like if you remember in the original Dune book, when Paul joins in the spice orgy after his mother takes the water of life and changes it, and him and Cheney are hanging out, and then Cheney and him are, like, tripping balls together, and she's like, I see our child, and, like, they're, it's like that whole, it's so crazy. So she's like I can see my child, but, like, who is it? And she's asking Duncan, like, please help me, like, I can't figure this out, and his mentat logic kicks into high gear, and he's like, the Bene Gesserit want a mating between you and your brother to lock the genetic. And then she's just like, ah, like, freaks out, freaks out, because part of her, like, the reason she can't see her baby daddy is because Paul is prescient and you can't see those motherfuckers, like, through time, so that's part of it. But she didn't want to, like, consciously deal with that, she just was like, oh, why can't I see him? But really it's like, oh, it's because he's prescient, you can't see him. But and part of her is horrified, part of her is disgusted and horrified by this idea, like, this is so awful, we're all taught this, like, this is not cool, like, siblings having sex is not the deal, it's gross. But the fucked up thing is, like, there's a Bene Gesserit part of her. And, like, as she was saying earlier, the Bene Gesserit part of her understands the sacred, she uses the word sacred urgency of the breeding program. Like, there is a part of her that is down to do this and take one for the team. There's a part of her that's like, we gotta lock this thing down, and this is the only way to do it, and I just gotta take one for the team. I'm just gonna have to take one for the team. And you know what? He's the only guy who gets me anyways, so maybe it's not that fucking bad. Just try it. Like, just try it. And it's, like, even more horrifying. It's just like, oh my fucking God. Like, just, like, it's not what she wants to do. And so while she's, like, fucking freaking out, Duncan finally kind of figures out, and he's like, how much spice did you take? Holding her hand, like, asking her like a kid, like, how much did you take? I need you to tell me. Are you okay? Did you take the normal amount or did you take a lot more and, like, you're having a problem? And I like that she kind of is just like, look at that shield wall. Like, she's just like tripping the fuck out. Just like, look at that shield wall. And like, he's like not high at all. So he's like, bitch, you are fucking out of your mind right now. And she's seeing like the wall just being like destroyed and falling apart like through time and all this stuff. And he's like, I'm getting the doctor. You're going in right now. Okay. Like, you're going inside right now. And he goes to grab her. And like, I want to say this to somebody, like, so next time some motherfucker tries to grab me and tries to get me to do something that I don't want to do, I am 100% going to say, you can't hold the whirlwind. Like, rip away. And then just be like, you can't hold the whirlwind. I love that. I thought that was like the sickest retort of all time. I thought it was amazing. And he's just like, lay down, baby girl. Like, lay down. Like, you're you're going to chill the fuck out. And he calls the medics. She gets her stomach pumped. And Haight is just freaking out. You know, he's just like, a Atreides woman cannot die. Atreides, like, he's freaking out. And, like, part of it is because, like, he's a Duncan, Idaho in there. And Duncans are, like, very completely loyal to House Atreides. Like, completely loyal to House Atreides. But there's another part of him. There's an added element to this where I think he's also freaking out because of that compulsion that he was rigged with by Bajaz. And if you think about it too, it's really interesting because like all these last 3 chapters and the chapter preceding it, 4 chapters, it's like you have a lot of hate coming on these chapters. You know, it's like you see Haight talking to Bajaz, then you see him talking to Alia, then you see him talking to Chaney, then you see him talking to Paul. You know, like it really kicks into his stuff over the last 4 chapters here. Whatever. And then 4 or 5 chapters. But she's thinking, you know, anyways, he doesn't want her to die though, because Bajaz rigged him with that compulsion. And he's like, he knows that when some female Atreides of the Atreides house dies, like shit's going to go like bad for him, you know, like this compulsion is going to kick in. But she thinks to herself, this Ghola loves me, you know, she's like, this Ghola loves me. And the thought became the bedrock to which she might cling. He was a familiar face with a solid room behind him. So it's like, I love that she uses him as a way to steady herself. You know, she's got her stomach pumped, but she's got to like get her shit back together. And like, and it is like, there is experiences where, you know, you take too much of something and you're kind of like a little out of control and you need something to just focus on to just keep it together. You know, you just got to focus on something, and Duncan and his love for her becomes that focus that helps her like get her shit back together. And Duncan's like, okay, I'm gonna stay with her, and the doctor's like, no way, you know, like, I mean, I can only assume that somebody like fed you this, and like everyone knows that, like, you know, Duncan may or may not be Haight may or may not be trustable. But and I love that the doctor like admonishes her. You know, he's like, you know, like, you of all people know the dangers of consuming too much melange, you know, like, I can only assume that somebody fed this to you. And she's like, get out, you fucking idiot. Would you deny me my visions? You know, like, you're a fool. Like, I knew what I took, and I knew why I took it. You know, she's such a fucking bitch. I love it. And then the doctor's like, fine, but I'm telling. Like, fine, but I'm telling your brother. I'm telling. She's like, go ahead and do it. But I also love the passage in this where she's thinking, now the doctor's gone, and she's thinking of kind of what are the things that she's seen. And she's still kind of tripping out too. I mean, even though she's not going to OD from it, she's still, like, it's still in her. And she sees that the web of time passed through her brother now like the rays of light through a lens. He stood at the focus, and he knew it. He had gathered all the lines to himself and would not permit them to escape or change. And, like, I just thought that was a beautiful way of describing that, you know, like, because it's so hard to talk about prescience and to write about it. I mean, it's like such a mind fuck. And I thought that was a really great way to describe it, you know. And also it's like he gathers all the lines to himself, and it's like these lines are just like, I don't know, he takes all these lines with him to Sietch, and we'll talk about that later when they go to the Sietch. And so afterwards, then comes the best part of the whole the chapter, where she says, if I could only burn this thing out of me, she cried. I didn't want to be different. I wanted to be able to laugh And then she's crying, and I mean, she's like, she's a lot more Fremen than Paul. You know, it's like Paul will cry, like Paul will fucking cry. He's like, I grew up on Caladan, I'll fucking let some tears loose, bro. But like Alia's not like that. Like she does not. She has a lot more Fremen inhibitions because due to all the wild Fremen Reverend Mothers that are within her consciousness. And but now that inhibition is broken, and she's like giving, you know, moisture to herself, you know, just like how shitty it is to be who she is, and how hard it is. And she says, but I wanted to be able to laugh, but I'm sister to an emperor who's worshipped as a god. People fear me. I never wanted to be feared. I don't want to be a part of history. I just wanted to be loved and to love. I was just like, oh, it's so good. It's so sad. Like, oh, like, yes, girl, same. Like, same. Like, being a scary bitch sucks because it's like you don't want to be a scary bitch, but like you are one, and then it's like sucks. And but you just like, I mean, people should be afraid of her is the thing. Like, she doesn't want to be feared, but you have to because she's like a fucking wild. She could destroy you. Like, she's a wild animal. Like, she's just accidentally rip your arm off when you're not looking. You know, it's like she's crazy. But even Alia just wanted to laugh and be loved, you know, like that's it, you know, and I feel like that's like all of us, you know, I feel like that's like all of us. It's like we all just kind of want to be loved and to love. It's beautiful. It's human. You know, even Alia, who's lived thousands and thousands of lives in her memories, like all she wants is just to be loved, you know. It's like that doesn't change. Like no matter how advanced humanity gets, like that thing will always be in there. And yeah. And then she's like, do you love me, Duncan? And I love that she won't give it up first. Cause again, it's like Ali's a total power bitch. She will not give it up first. She's not the one who's like, she doesn't say, I just wanted to love and be loved. She says, I just wanted to be loved, ... and to love. Like she requires you to love her first before she will love you. You know, like that's definitely like, it's total power games. And then she's like, do you love me? You know, she doesn't tell him she loves her, you know, like she's like, do you love me? And he's like, yes, I do. And the thing is, it's kind of a perfect relationship for her because she is a power bitch. She is above everybody, you know, she can't really have a dude. Like there is no dude that's like, her brother literally is the only guy who's like harder, faster, better, stronger than she is. But with Duncan, it's like this guy's completely loyal to the Atreides line. And he's down to be, like, not the king of the castle, you know? Like, she has to be the leader, but she still wants a lover. But then with men and women relationships, a lot of men, you know, need to be in the power position. And the woman's supposed to be in the subservient position, but she's not capable of doing that. I mean, she's not capable of doing that. So for her to find someone who's hard enough to be with her, but is also okay with being, like, a step down, and that she's the one who's, like, she is the government, you know? Or becomes the government, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to find that, you know? So she's found that in Duncan. He's like the perfect dude. And then she goes on to talk about her brother, and she's like, he's the bait in his own trap. He's the servant of power and terror, violence. Deification is a prison enclosing him. He'll lose everything. It'll tear him apart. They drive him to destroy himself. Too much weight, too much grief. They seduce him away from love. They're creating a universe where he won't permit himself to live. And he, you know, he is a part of creating it. Like, he is a part of the pattern. And I love the idea of being the bait in your own trap. Because he is, like, Paul is absolutely the bait in his own trap. And it's like, there are these times in life where you must become the bait in your own trap. And I think that that's a fascinating idea. And I think that that's something that a lot of people really don't think about. And it's something that it's like, as a woman, like, I think being a woman, a lot of it is being the bait in your own trap. Like, you are the bait, you know, and like, you're like, oh, look at me, I'm sexy, you know, oh, you want to get with me, and it's just bait, you know, and then you bring people to you, and then you get what you really need from them, which is generally not their dick, it's generally other things, you know, but that's how you, like, draw them to you. You're the bait in your own trap. And it's interesting to see Paul have to do that, you know, he's dangling himself. But that's like those are the best traps. It's like when you put yourself in the line of danger, you know, that's the real shit, you know, that's when you're really running some games. And then I love how he also describes, like, so she's coming down from her trip. I mean, she's still tripped out, but she's coming down from it. And I like how he talks about how Herbert says her awareness descended layer by layer and came to rest behind her navel. And that's something that I've seen. I remember I was reading White Llama by Jodorowsky. It's one of his comic books, and it's about this this llama who is not it's religious leader llama, not fucking whatever, not a cute animal. He is reborn in the body of this this white European child, and is growing up in Tibet. And at some point, like, this child becomes a monk, and then these other monks who realize that, and all the monks think that this person has been reborn in the llama has been reborn in a different body. They don't believe it. Anyways, these other people, like, they know that, like, this one is where the real llama is in this body. And so they go to teach this child how to meditate and how to push his awareness out and to travel in the astral realms. And in it, it's like there's a cord that goes from the body, from the navel into, like, the ethereal body. And so, like, as an ethereal being, this llama is, like, floating around in space, but it's like it is connected to the navel, and, like, that is some real mysticism stuff. Like, that is where the awareness is like the navel. It, like, comes out from there. It's like you'd think it'd come out from your forehead, but, like, I've seen it in other places. I love that fucking Frank Herbert was like, yes, the navel. Like, the awareness comes into the navel. And she thinks to herself, like, right before she passes out, like, she goes back and, like, realizes that, like, yes, she, in a future timeline, she does have children with her brother, and she knows that the one thing that she does know about her children is that they would be aware like her, they would be preborn. And that's something where, that's another thing that would make her reject the idea of potentially accepting a partnership with her brother, because it's like, she doesn't ever, like, she wouldn't want to bring a child in, like, that's like her, because she's been so miserable. She's just so miserable about it. And I feel like she would be like, I'd rather not have a kid if they're going to end up being preborn like I was, because that really fucking sucked. And, like, I'm just like, I don't know if I want to bring that into this world. So, and at this point, how old is Alia? Alia is like 15 or 16 at this point. She's like 15, 16. It doesn't really say. At the beginning of the book, she's 15, but it says she's getting ready to become 16. And again, it's like, and I love this scene of, like, you have this crazy 16-year-old girl who is taking crazy teen girl, taking a shit ton of drugs, getting really fucked up, who's like the head of fucking, like, part of the head of state, of the government, and then, like, telling everybody what to do. And it's just like, man, like, what a crazy deal. But then she's, like, really old lady on the inside. It's, like, so nuts. Like, it's just so cool. I love it. It's like, nowhere else do you get this. I don't see this in other fiction. So yeah, no, she's that young. Yeah, she's that. But the thing is, her body is that young. It's like, she's not that young. Her body is that young. So it's just, but it's so confusing for everybody. It just, like, confuses everybody, because we rely on our sense of sight, and it's like, oh yeah, that is a teen. Okay, and it's like, you put the teen in the teen box when you see a teen, and it's like, but she's not a teen. Like, she is, but she's not a teen. Like, she's not. So she's what they call an old soul. But I love this crazy 16-year-olds running around getting, like, really fucked up on drugs, and, like, she's the one who's, like, totally in charge of a whole bunch of shit, It's just, like, so great. Like, I love it. All right, so let's move on to our next chapter. That was a fun romantic drugs chapter. That was great. I think it's far more exciting than, like, it kind of reminds me of the scene in what was the name of that shit? What's that Quentin Tarantino movie with Travolta and Uma Thurman, and she's, like, gets all fucked up on that coke, and then he's got to give her the adrenaline. I can't remember the name. I'm such an asshole. Pulp Fiction. Yeah. I'm in this world. Okay, like, this is a lot of stuff I got to keep in my brain. Like, it's so funny, because people, I present myself as this intelligent motherfucker on the internet, but then, like, it's a lie, okay? Like, it's like I load my brain with certain things, and then like while I'm talking about them, I know about them, but then like afterwards, and I get into other stuff, I load my stuff with other stuff, and then like my brain forgets all this other. It's still in there, but it's not accessible because I have all of this other shit loaded in my brain. So people are like, how are you so fucking smart, but then you forget what the fuck Pulp Fiction is? It's just like, I don't know. I've got a lot in here. I carry a lot around in here, okay? I carry a lot in here. And it's funny too when people will come up to me and they'll be like, oh, what about this, this, and this? You know, and they'll ask me some very specific questions from something that has to do with like the Phoenix Saga or, you know, some X-Men stuff, when it's like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to like take an hour to reload my fucking brain before I remember all that stuff. Like, it's in there, but it's not accessible like at any time. You know, it's like there's only so much that you can keep in your consciousness, you know, in your conscious mind. A lot of my stuff, I'm into everything, so I'm constantly, I don't know, I get bored, so I just pollinate all these different fucking flowers, you know, these different universes, fictional universes. Cheney's time. Okay, so our next chapter. So everyone has picked up to go to the desert for Cheney's birth, and our next chapter, we've gone on travel. We're in Siege now. You got the whole gang there. You've got Cheney's there, obviously. Paul, Alia, Stilgar, his favorite wife, Hera, which I love that everyone's like, his favorite wife. Like, that must suck for the other wife, you know? Like, it's just like, everyone knows Hera, his favorite, you know? It's like, does his other wife still around? I don't know. But that would piss me off. I would be like, God damn it. Like, Anyways, and then you have Hate, Edric, Lichna, Gaius Hel and Mohim, Bajaz, Irulan, and all of the attendants of government, all the aides and all that other sort of bullshit that he's got to travel with. He can't, like, you know, it's like fucking Air Force One, you know? I mean, this guy just can't just be by himself. He's got to have all the attendants of state around him as well. And Cheney is starting to have contractions, but they're not close enough together for her time yet. And she's looking out over the desert, and she is, you know, like regretful that she was like suggested that they come out here. She's upset. Like, I mean, she smells these evil smells assail her from the water quanat that's like over there, and she's just like, like, you know, and how Fremens are. This is our second evil odor of the book, because remember, Paul smelled an evil odor when he was talking to Irulan, and that's a whole Fremen thing where it's like, you know, evil smells, evil times, you know. And honestly, I've smelled an evil smell before, and it was awful. It was so weird. I'll talk about that later. And as a Fremen of the people, she finds herself disgusted by her planet's newfound wealth of water. She thinks to herself, water, once the spirit soul of Arrakis has become a poison. Water brought pestilence. Only the desert was clean, you know? And like, this is interesting because she's a woman of the people, and like their whole thing was like, we need more water. We just, all we want is more water, you know? We need more water on this motherfucking planet. Like, their whole thing before Paul, it was just like all they worried about was water. But now that they have it, it's like, be careful what you wish for, you know, like, be careful what you fucking wish for. And now they're all like, a lot of the Fremen are just like, this sucks. Like, I want to go back. Like, this sucks. Like, like, our lives were great and we had no fucking idea, you know. And it really just makes you think about how, like, you know, we all have these like dreams for ourselves, and like, oh, I'll be happy when I get this, and things will be cool when I have that, you know. But in reality, the problems that you have now are awesome, you know. And it's like, you get these other things, they have all these new problems that come with them, and like, it sucks, and like, change is hard and difficult, and we all wish for change all the time, but when it happens, it's usually a fucking bummer. And she's a little bummed about it. And then Paul's still freaking her out, you know, with his fucking eyeless sockets. You know, he's running around with no fucking eyeballs, just like freaking everybody out, including her. I mean, can you imagine, say I lost my fucking eyeballs and then there's just sockets, but I'm still gonna like hang out and like talk to you guys and just like, hey, but I have fucking no eyeballs. Like, that'd be a horror show. I mean, it's like, it's terrifying. You see that in horror movies, you know. It's like, it's not what people want to look at. It's really scary. It's really scary because we're all so like connected to our eyeballs, you know. It's just like, like, what a terrifying thing to have to like deal with and like look at. It's just like, it's freaky. And so she senses a vicious madman in him, someone wary of songs and polemics, and it's just like, yikes, this woman knows her man. This woman knows Paul more than anyone else in the whole universe. In the whole universe, this woman knows this man more than anyone else, and she senses a vicious madman in him, a vicious madman. Like, he's going crazy, like, and she smells it, she sees it, she senses it. And I love that someone who's wary of songs and polemics, polemics are like debates, where people like argue with one another. And it's just like, he's tired of people singing songs about awesome stuff. He's tired of people arguing. He's just tired of motherfucking people, like, this dude just fucking tired. And she's watching this storm gather in the south. And I think it's interesting because it kind of echoes the storm that Paul has at the end of the last book, where he's like, oh, this is our storm that comes together when they go fight the emperor. And it's like, yet again, there's another storm coming, and I think that also, like, when that happened, I mean, she lost her first child. I mean, like, during those battles, like, she lost her first child, Leto. And it's like, it just looks like she senses that everything's kind of like happening again, and that's something that I think is really interesting, is if you look at, I don't know, like, things do come back around. Like, they'll be a little bit different, but like the same elements will still be there. And it's like, she's evolved to a whole new situation, but it's all lining up just like it did before, like, just like it did before. And so now hate is coming up on her, and he sees another he's coming up on another sacred Atreides woman, which is interesting because last time he's looking out for Alia, ends up calling the medics for her and saving her. Now he's looking out for Chani. And I love that he mansplains to her that she needs to come inside. I love that he mansplains to her, and he's like, this will whip the winds will whip the flesh from your bones, and she thinks to herself, like, he's gonna tell me that? Like, what the fuck? I grew up here, bro. Like, you need to slow your roll for a second. But then she's like, at first she's annoyed, but then, like, she sees that he really cares and she lets it slide. It's like, he's just saying that because he really does care, and it's like, she's like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm not going to get pissed off about it. We've got bigger fucking problems to deal with than this Ghola mansplaining what fucking storms do to a fucking Fremen. Okay, yeah. But again, just like the last time, he's like Alia challenges him with these questions, like, who's my baby daddy? Why can't I see him? Whatever. Like, he's like confronted with these challenging questions and kind of has to help her through these like philosophical, metaphysical, fucking weird situations. Again, he has another sacred woman to Paul, who's asking him difficult questions about truths that the woman does not want to face. Just like Alia did not want to face the potential future timeline where she hooks up with her brother and has his children. Chani doesn't want to face the fact that she's gonna die, but there's a part of her that knows, it's like, there's a part of her that knows but is hiding from this truth, and that's what we all do. It's like, a lot of us know exactly what's going on, but we hide our awareness from these truths, like, we deceive ourselves, even though, like, all the evidence is there, all the stuff is right in front of us. We like can't deal with the truth, so we just kind of turn our eyes to it. And she starts asking him, like, why is Paul afraid for me to bear our children? And he's like, it's natural for a man to be worried about, that's just what people do. He's like he's trying so hard to like keep her not stressed out, like, he's just trying so hard. And then and he's like, but he doesn't seem to fear for this. Like, I sense that he doesn't fear for the children, and he's like, he can't even think about the children without thinking about how Leto was killed. Don't worry about it. Like, he just keeps just being like, don't worry about it. You should be with the medics. Like, you should be there. And I like that Frank Herbert writes, she felt abruptly that her mind lay undefended, ready to be invaded by shocking perceptions. And then she says to Hate, I'm afraid, where's my Usul? And it's, he's like, oh, well, the affairs of state detain him. You know how it is, whatever. Again, he just assuages her with some crap, but really, it's like, no, really, he is worried about you bearing children because he knows you're going to die. He's not worried about the kids because he knows that they're not going to die. And he's not around because he literally can't be around her because he's too fucking sad. It's like, it's not affairs of state detain him. I mean, partially it is, but partially it's because he can't handle it. He can't handle it. He can't even be around her. He's just like I just have to disengage. Like, if I'm around this, like, I'm just going to fucking freak out. So, yeah. And she thinks to herself, after he says the affairs of state detain him, she thinks to herself, she goes back inside and she notices the smells. She laughs to herself. Even the smells changed in Muad'Dib's presence, because he brought all these people with her, and like the Sietch smells have been changed. Like, that's what a powerful manifester he is. He can't go anywhere without changing everything around him. I mean, he's such a manifesting reality warper. That he's just like warping the reality of this fucking Sietch, like even in the smells, in the olfactory senses. But he's like, there are pressing matters that he could not defer, which, I mean, again, it's like he's telling the truth. Like, Paul has pressing things that he's got to do, before everything kicks into high gear. And I love also too that she thinks to herself about how Paul piloted them down. Like, with his eyeless sockets, he was piloting them to the Sietch. And after that experience, she knew nothing he did could surprise her. It's like, like, that's it. It's like, that was the final trick in his book. It's just like, damn, you were a crazy fucking partner to have. And this is the cherry on top, baby. Like, you flying around with no fucking eyeballs is definitely the craziest shit I will ever fucking see. Like, that is the craziest stuff. Then her contractions start hitting, and they start hitting harder and closer together. And she feels this pain. And again, Hate is like freaking out, and he's like, oh, we gotta get you to the medics. Again, it's like I gotta protect these women. And I love what he says to her about the Zinsuni approach to birth. He says, the Zinsuni approach to birth is to wait without purpose in the highest state of tension. Do not compete with what is happening. To compete is to prepare for failure. Do not be trapped by the need to achieve anything. This way, you achieve everything. And I was like, fuck, you could just use that all the time. You don't have to use that for just birth. I think we should use this all the time. To wait without purpose in the state of highest tension. Do not compete with what is happening. To compete is to prepare for failure. Do not be trapped by the need to achieve anything. This way you achieve everything. And I just, man, that's some real fucking wisdom that I think that we could all use every day. Every fucking day. I've been thinking about that, because since the final episode of the Comic Book Only Teen Show aired, and since we've been doing this book club, I've been thinking a lot about, like, what's my future look like? What are my possible future timelines? Where am I going? Where do I want to go? What's the deal? And I've come to the conclusion that, like, I don't want to fucking map it out, man. I just want to, like, kind of let it happen. And, like, I don't want to, I do kind of just, like, want to wait without purpose and just, like, let things happen to me, just, like, that's pretty cool. But constantly be training, it's like, train yourself. Like, I don't know why I'm training for some of the, like, I don't know why I'm doing some of the things I'm doing, but I know that, like, in the future, like, these things are going to matter, but I don't know why, and I don't know where, and I don't know when. Just going to happen. So you just kind of have to, like, get ready, but don't compete and don't have some big plan. Just, like, let shit happen. And then, if you don't have some need to achieve anything, you achieve everything. Although, I mean, I still have my desires and my things that I would like to have happen. I'm trying to, like, let go of those things more. I'm trying to get more in that, I don't know, Zen approach to life. I am trying to get more in that Zen approach to life. I've been listening to Watts Wave 4, and it's like, don't try to save the world. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Alan Watts is like, don't do it. You're just going to make it worse. And it's like, oh, you're so right. I need to just stop. So the medics take her, and Hate is left alone, and he starts thinking about the possibility of Cheney dying. He starts thinking about it, and he starts panicking. He starts feeling panic, at the thought of her dying. And he thinks to himself, something cannot emerge from nothing. Like, where is this coming from? Where is this irrational panic coming from? And I think that this is just, again, it's so great. This character, this Ghola, is so fucking great because he really shows you somebody who is a master of like meditation and a master of their own mind, how they deal with their own mind, and like and how like he has an awareness of himself where instead of just allowing himself to panic and then being like letting it pass and then like not wanting to deal with it because it was a frustrating, feeling, and then just like letting it go back into your subconscious and just being like, I don't want to deal with this. He's like, no, wait a minute. Why am I panicking? I'm panicking right now. Why am I panicking? And like, that's the thing, is like having awareness of yourself, is really important. Like, wait a minute, I'm freaking out right now. Why the fuck am I freaking out? There's got to be a reason to this. And then he explores it. Then he's like, I'm gonna fucking explore this. And he meditates on the problem. He starts meditating in a Mentat fashion, though. He's like meditating Mentat style, and he starts like letting everything, he kind of like lets go and lets everything, all the data kind of come through him. Well, again, he's pretty much taking his own fucking advice, where he's waiting without purpose in the highest state of tension, not competing with what is happening. And in the emotional darkness of it, he feels himself waiting for some absolute sound, the snap of a branch in the jungle. I thought that he's waiting for some sound, and he's like, why am I waiting for some sound? And then he starts going into like trying to be like one with everything. He's trying to like go into the infinite and like feel like the fucking flow of life, and he goes infinite. And when he does that, it comes to him, I've been rigged with a compulsion. He's like, I've been rigged with a compulsion. And so it was such a great example of like how to like look into your own mind and like figure out like what's going on. Not that we're necessarily, we are programmed actually all the time. We don't want to talk about it, but we're absolutely programmed all the time by all sorts of stuff. Society, the media, our parents, religion, we're like constantly being programmed, and we don't even realize it. And so this is a really great way where he is looking into his acquired conditioning, and then he realizes, oh, there's something in there, because when he's like, he feels himself waiting for a sound. And then he's like, oh, wait, like I'm waiting, like my whole being is waiting for a sound. I've been rigged with a compulsion. When I hear something, then I'm going to do something, and I don't know what it is, but it's going to be violent. I know that there's like violence attached to it. And I like that at the end, the guy's like, oh, did you say something? He's like, I said everything. It was just like, yes, like, oh, my little Zensuni cutie figuring it out. I love him so much. And so, yeah, he's so self-aware. I love it. The awareness of this character is so great, and I really can teach us how to be more self-aware of our own bullshit. Because I have not been practicing daily like I should be practicing daily. I'm trying to get that going, but I've been trying to do more meditation stuff, and it has been really helpful for me, and it has like helped me to get out of my own self and to look at myself from a detached way, and like look at my emotions and my feelings and my thoughts, and it's like, where are these coming from? What is this? What is that? What is this tied to? It's really interesting getting to know your own brain. So our next chapter, this is our big chapter. We've got birth, rebirth, and death. It's a high order of business here, as Ghola says. Ghola said earlier, this deal, life and death, it's a lot. So we cut to Paul. Paul is sitting around, he's wrapping things up, and he doesn't want to be around Chaney because he's gonna get bummed out too much, and he's just gonna he can't deal with it. And he's trying to sign all these dumb treaties because he knows that things are getting ready to go a certain way, and he's got to wrap up all these loose ends, so it's like he's brought all this shit with him so he can finish his homework before he goes, school's out for summer. He's got to get all this shit signed and figured out before he goes. And I like some aide comes up to him and is like, pardon, sire, the symbol treaty, your signature. And he's just like, this is like the darkest Paul. Like this is where he's really starting to really lose it. And he's like, I can read it. I like that he snaps at the aide. I can read it. And like, again, think of Paul as this eyeless fucking motherfucker. It's like super scary. And this aide's just like, oh, the symbol. He's like, I can read it, and it's just signs it exactly where it needs to be signed. And like, can you imagine going up to somebody with no eyeballs and then handing them a piece of paper and then them yelling at you that they can read it and then signing it exactly in the spot where they're supposed to sign it? I mean, that would just like freak everybody out. And like the aide is like, and like kind of runs off, because like Muad'Dib is like scary, dude. Like Muad'Dib has become really fucking scary. And Paul's thinking to himself, he's like, this is an ugly, barren land. He's like a bad mood bear right now. Like he is super bad news bear, or bad mood bear right now. And I love that the contrast with Chaney, because Chaney was just thinking like, water is fucking poison. Fuck this shit. Like this is like, we don't need this free running water. Like this shit pisses off Shai Hulud. It pisses me the fuck off. Like I don't like this shit. And then like on the flip side, Paul's over here thinking like, all this planet requires was water and love, like water and love. Like he has one kind of like nice, happy thought in all of this darkness. And I really appreciated when all his attendants and aides are outside and he feels this need to shout at them. If you need something to worship, then worship life, all life, every last crawling bit of it. We're all in this beauty together, and it's like, wow, Paul's really having a come apart. Like he's really on the struggle bus. He's having a come apart. He wants to start yelling at people about worshiping all life. And this whole thing kind of reminds me of one of my favorite Dune quotes that is featured in Dune Wave, where it says, greatness is a transitory experience. It is never consistent. It depends in part upon the myth-making imagination of humankind. The person who experiences greatness must have a feeling for the myth he is in. He must reflect what is projected upon him, and he must have a strong sense of the sardonic. This is what uncouples him from belief in his own pretensions. The sardonic is all that permits him to move within himself. Without this quality, even occasional greatness will destroy a man. And the sense of the sardonic is a cynicism. It is where you realize that you are an asshole. You cannot get high off your own supply. Like you can't drink your own Kool-Aid. Like you have to know that you're an asshole, no matter how great and wonderful and no matter how tall of a pedestal people put you up on. You have to know that you are also an asshole, just like everybody else. Okay, like just like everybody else. And so you see that, like, okay, so he starts thinking about his awareness he starts thinking about Chaney, and he's like, I can't think about Chaney. I have to stop thinking about it. And he thinks about the stars, and that's something that I do sometimes when I get really overwhelmed. I'll go out at night and I'll look up in the sky and I'll look at the stars and like I'll just like imagine the planets and stuff and imagine Saturn and just like how fucking big it is, it's just like how fucking big this giant fucking planet is that's just chilling there in space, and how small and insignificant me and my problems are. It is helpful to ponder the cosmos. And his awareness turned over at the thought of all those stars above him in infinite volume. A man must be half mad to imagine that he could rule even a teardrop of that volume. He couldn't begin to imagine the number of subjects his imperium claimed. So it's like there's kind of the sardonic where he's just like, oh yeah, I'm the big emperor, I'm the top of the thing, but like, what a fucking idiot I am, like only a madman with our man half mad could imagine that he could rule even a teardrop of this. It's just like, like this is such bullshit what I'm doing. And then he goes on to think like, okay, he couldn't begin to imagine the number of subjects his imperium claimed. Subjects, worshippers, and enemies more likely, and again, it's like the sense of the sardonic there, like worshippers and enemies more likely. Did any among them see beyond rigid beliefs? Where was one man who'd escaped the narrow destiny of his prejudices? Not even an emperor escaped. He'd lived a take-everything life, tried to create a universe in his own image, but the exultant universe was breaking across him at last with its silent waves. I spit upon Dune. I give it my moisture. And then it goes on to say, which again, it's like, he's thinking, I'm an asshole. Not even an emperor escaped, like I may be a Kwisatz Haderach. I may be fucking imperial, whatever the fuck. But like, I am just a man who cannot escape the destiny of my own prejudices. I have my own beliefs. Like I have my own bullshit. And like my subjects aren't my subjects. They're worshipers and they're enemies. Like, it's like, let's not kid ourselves, like what's going on here. And he's so pissed. He's like spitting on Dune, which is like, I give it my moisture, which is like in one respect, it's like Dune's like, yeah, give me your moisture. But then like for him, it's like, fuck you. It's a fuck you, but also a loving gesture. So it's like this perfect gesture of I love you and fuck you all mixed up together. And then it goes on to say this myth he made. This, and again, it goes like the myth, when we talk about greatness as a transitory experience, it depends in part upon the myth-making imagination of humankind. The person who experiences greatness must have a feeling for the myth he is in. And so now it starts talking about the myth that he is in. He realizes he's in a myth, and he says this myth he'd made out of intricate movements and imagination, out of moonlight and love, out of prayers older than Adam, and gray cliffs and crimson shadows, laments and rivers of martyrs. What had it come to at last? When the waves receded, the shores of time would spread out there clean, empty, shining with infinite grains of memory and little else. Was this the golden genesis of man? It was just like, oh, he definitely has a feeling for the myth he is in, and he's just like, oh, lament. It's just such a beautiful fucking poetic way to write this stuff. I just think it's so fantastic. Like rivers of martyrs. It's like, oh, prayers older than Adam. Prayers older than Adam. Like, I was trying to wrap my head around that, I was just like, what does that prayer look like? Who was praying that prayer? It's like before man, the prayers of angels, the prayers of, these higher spiritual beings. Like, so great. I thought it was really very, very poetic. And I like these, like, was this the golden genesis of man? Where that's what he's trying to set up. Like, he's trying to set up, like, the start of this whole new bag of cats that we'll get into more with Dune Club III and Dune Club IV. Because this is a golden genesis of man at this point, and he's at the very center of it. And so now, since Paul is locked in on his oracular vision, and he's just, like, doing what he's supposed to be doing, now he has what I like to call the dance with Duncan, okay? Because he's kind of just like, it's kind of like he's dancing with everyone, where he knows the moves that he's supposed to do, and he's just kind of like completing the moves in this dance of reality that's around him. And Duncan, hate Duncan, comes to Paul to warn him. He's like, I've been rigged with a compulsion, but Jazz did some shit to me, like, I don't know what the fuck, I'm not safe to be around. And so Paul starts the dance with him, starts teasing the Duncan out of the Ghola again. We saw him teasing the Duncan out when he was hanging out with Chaney, a couple sessions ago. And Paul is like, I'm going to put myself, again, being the bait in your own trap. He puts himself in harm's way, knowing that the Ghola is trained to kill him, has a compulsion to kill him. But he knows that the Duncan inside of him would take over rather than allow the Ghola training to kill him, to kill Paul. And during this dance, while this is going on, Chaney dies. She gives birth and she dies. And it was so haunting. I love it. Again, like, this reminds me of like a fucking opera. It's like, this just should be an opera. Like, it's just this tragic, amazing opera where he hears his Sietch name, Usul, hears this far away voice calling his name. And he knows it's over. He knows that the one thing that he's been fighting against this entire book, the one thing that he's been not looking forward to this entire book has finally happened. It's finally here. And he echoes the thing that he remembers from the future earlier in the book. He says the words, "It was mostly sweet, and you were sweetest of all." And I was just like, oh my God. Oh, it's so sweet. Like, oh, you're killing me. And I love the description afterwards where he says that amorphous human universe out there had undergone a spurt of motion, dancing to the tune of his vision. It had struck a powerful note then. The ghost echoes might endure, and it's like the amorphous human universe had undergone a spurt of motion. And the spurt of motion is when Chani gives birth, dies, and these two new beings are brought into the universe who are, again, it's like Paul is the apex fucking being of humanity. So here's some new... And these his genes are now mingled with some wild Fremen stuff, so it's like you got these new guys coming out into the mix, and the universe will never be the same, guys. Like, everything's like, it's not, you think things change under Paul, like, just fucking wait. And I love that he's sitting there and he's remembering Chani, and he remembers, for whatever reason, the day that they left for the desert at breakfast, and she was restless and irritable, and she asks him, "Why do you wear that old jacket?" She had demanded, eyeing the black uniform coat with its red hawk crest beneath his robe. "You're an emperor, even an emperor," or she's like, "You're an emperor. Why are you wearing this jacket?" Because this is an old Atreides jacket. It's like things have changed. Like, this is some old shit. And he's like, "Even an emperor has his favorite clothing. I just like this jacket. I'm just gonna wear it. It's my favorite. I'm a human being, and I like this jacket, and I'm gonna wear it." And it breaks her Fremen inhibitions, shattered. It's like she has tears in her eyes. And if you remember, he says this is the second time that her inhibitions were shattered. And the first time was when their son died. When Leto died, that was the first time that she gave moisture to the dead. But she has tears in her eyes the second time. And he's like, and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why this upset her. Like, he's kind of like, I don't get it. Like, why is she upset that I'm wearing this coat? But I feel like she's upset because, like, the last time he was wearing this coat was before, like, he won the Empire, and before there was this huge battle and this huge struggle. And so he's wearing it once again, like, now, before they go into the desert, before they do this, there's like another struggle, and I think that she kind of senses that, and she senses like I think it's also because like he likes that coat, but because that was before he was the emperor, like that's who he was before he was the emperor. He was just a rebel duke, a rebel duke, and like that's when life was like the illest, like that's when things were like the fucking best, is when he was being hunted in the desert, and it was just them, and there wasn't all this fucking bullshit around them all the time. And that's why he likes this coat so much. It's like the time before he rose to power and their lives changed and they couldn't have, the life that they wanted to anymore. I mean, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and it sucked being emperor. It fucking sucked. And he's like, I liked it better when I was just a Duke of the Atreides. And I think that she sees that and just like, it's upsetting. She just like wants to go back to that too. I don't know. I thought that was pretty good. Simpler times. And so Paul is like reeling from this knowledge that his beloved is dead, and he's like he's detaching. He's starting to kind of detach from everything, and he finally says the magic words to Hate. He says, "She is gone." He finally says the words, and this is like all during the dance. It's like he's having to do this dance with Duncan while his beloved just died. So it's like this guy is like under so much fucking tremendous stress and pressure. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy how much shit that he's going through right now. So it's like he's having to deal with his bro, trying to like bring his bro back from the dead essentially, while also dealing with the fact that his beloved just died. But then he has to like keep doing this dance, he can't stop. And so he says, "She is gone." And then the programming starts to try to take over, but Hate is like, Duncan is overcoming it. And I love that he doesn't say the message, because if you remember, when he hears the words "she is gone," he's supposed to say with Bajaz's voice, like, "Master, master," like, da-da-da-da-da-da, like all this stuff. And he doesn't say the message. He's like, "Wah, wah," like he's like trying to, but like he won't allow it to come out, which I thought was great. And he does like try to stab, like he's like feeling like the stabby motion. And then I love that like Duncan comes on the comms, like he takes over the comms and is like, "Run, young master, run, like get out of here." And Paul's like, "We will not run. We will move with dignity. We'll do what must be done." And he's saying something to him that echoes something that his grandfather would have said. And the Duncan in him knows the grandfather. Like, the Duncan knew the grandfather. And so he's thinking, like, the Duncan's like, oh, he's got, like, some of his grandfather in him, like, echoing, he's got the old Duke. And, like, that, again, it's, like, teasing him out, Like, Paul is just, like, such a master. He's, like, teasing this fucking, this consciousness out into the open. And then you see the hate Idaho integration, where it's, like, going back and forth until it becomes one, and then he sheds the compulsion. And so now Duncan Idaho's back. Duncan Idaho's back in the mix, guys. Ghola did it. It's nice. He still has all of his memories as hate. He's still totally, like, he's got all that shit, but, like, now he's got the Duncan back, and so now the Duncan is back in the mix. Paul is done dancing with the Ghola. He can stop dancing, and the Ghola kind of becomes his backup dancer. And he's like, okay, Duncan, fall in line. We got to go. Okay, got this done. I signed the treaties. Okay, great. All right, great. Now I got you back. Cheney's dead. Okay, great. Let's go on to our next fucking thing. We got to go to our next fucking dance. You got to be backup dancer. And he goes to see the kids. And surprise, it's twins. He had no idea. And I think it's amazing that everybody but him knew. Like, Cheney knew it was twins. The doctors knew it was twins. Like, everyone who's been paying attention is like, this is twins. And the fucking prescient fucking Emperor Kwisatz Haderach badass motherfucker of the universe had no fucking idea, Like, and again, it's just like, it's so funny, It's like such the perfect irony, the perfect irony. Everybody but him, everybody but him. Which also is, like, funny. I don't know, echoes that, like, the chaos of fatherhood, and becoming a dad. And, like, I don't know, when dudes become dads, it's like, oh, this huge thing. And it's like, for him, it's the same, It's like, he doesn't have it under control either, It's like, he's like, oh, shit. But he's like, whatever, twins, that's great, but take me to Cheney, And that's just really, like, it is so sad, where he's just like, I don't even care. Just take me to my beloved's dead body, Like, I just want to, like, fucking hang out with my beloved's dead body before she goes. And he's like, Cheney, beloved, believe me that this death was quicker for you and kinder. They'd have held our children in hostage, displayed you in a cage and slave pits, reviled you with the blame for my death. This way we destroy them and save our children, And so now, like, you really see that it's just like, God, what a fucking bummer to have to, like, choose the death of your beloved. It's like, oh, do you want her to be in slave pits and, like, all this other shit but you get more time? Or do you want her to do this, Like, which one do you want to do? And it's like, God, what a bummer to have to choose between fates, And I love that he thinks, this is the way the vision went. Cheney is dead. I should abandon myself to grief, but that was not the way the vision went. And it's like, he's like running a marathon right now. Like, he's running such a marathon. It's like, he's so fucking tired. He's so worn out. He's so beaten down. He thinks to himself, my beloved is dead. I should just abandon myself to grief. But he's like, that's not the way the vision goes. I don't have that luxury. I have to keep going. I have to keep going with this fucking marathon. I got to make it to the finish line. And he asks, has Alia been summoned? Because she's the next player in the dance. It's like, she's next up for a fucking twirl. And he's really feeling the hit, like, he's really feeling the hit. And he's even, even though he's blind, he's got his vision. And in his vision, it's like all these people, are, like, showing up being like, oh no, Cheney's dead. Like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And he wants to remove all of the people from his vision, but he can't. Everyone is looking at him and they're thinking, how's God going to deal with the death of his beloved? Because, I mean, they've deified this man. They think that this man is a fucking God, It's like he's been deified. And, but it's like, but now he has to be a man, like, now he's been laid low, and now he has to be, like, a grieving fucking widower, just like a lot of dudes are, it's like, it happens to a lot of people. And he thinks to himself, they are watching the articulate become dumb, the wise become a fool. Didn't the clown always appeal to cruelty? And he feels he's a clown, and all of it, in his grief, he just, like, hates that people are looking at him, how he's going to deal with this. Like, fuck, he's just under so much, I just feel so bad for him. He's just under so much fucking pressure. And he describes it as more than a death watch, but less than awake. It's just like, like, fuck. More than a death watch, but less than awake. Everyone's just like, all eyes are on eyeless Paul. And so now Paul has created a universe that he can't stand to live in. He's had to choose between a nightmare of fates for his beloved. He's flagging hard. But he has just he's got a little farther, little bit ways to go in his marathon of awfulness and his tragic marathon of sadness. And, but he starts stumbling a little bit, and Idaho is his best dude. Idaho's like, I got you, bro. I got your arm. It's cool. I'm going to steady you. It's fine. We're going to do this. And Paul's vision is like, the grief is overwhelming him. His vision is starting to crap out. And it totally, he sees the room in which Chaney's dead body is, and it's just black. There's nothing in there. And so it's starting to crap out when he enters the room where the moon fell, and he's like, where's Chaney? And once he gets in there, he can't even remember how the vision goes. It's really starting to like cut out on him. And they're like, oh, check out your kids. And he thinks to himself, the vision contained only a daughter, and it's like, what? Like, okay, so, I mean, spoilers, Leto becomes God Emperor. And earlier in the book, he says to Chaney, our be still, little ruler of the universe, like the child of ours will create a universe of such arts and sciences and all this other stuff. And it's like really amazing because it's like a daughter was supposed to do this originally. Like it would have been a female. It's like, like that's a whole other thing. It's like so crazy. Anyways, and so he stumbles over to the crib. Hera helps him find the babies with his hands, and she's like, wait a minute, are you fucking blind? I thought you said you weren't blind, but like you're acting like a blind dude. And he's just like, I don't care, take me to Chaney, take me to her corpse. And he is he's wondered if he's committed himself to a passage where his vision would never return, but it seemed unimportant. He's like losing his vision, but he doesn't even fucking care. I mean, he's just so over it. He's just so done. He's just so fucking done. And Alia shows up. And she's like, oh, Lickna, you got it. He's like, shh, just stop talking. Like, I know, just like, stop talking. And he's just like, what do you see? He's just like trying to take a moment with Chaney's body before he's got to go on to the next part of the dance. And she's just like, Paul, like, we've got a big thing, and he's just like, never mind. And he opens up he just pushes and he opens up his third eye again, and he sees Chaney, and he starts like looking at her face, and he can't stop looking at her face. Even when he turns away, like the vision stays on her face, and it imprints across his mind and then fades into nothingness where he's blind again, much like when he went blind the first time, where he's like able to see for a minute, but then it's like a mist happens and then it just kind of everything fades out. It's like a similar thing, but the last thing he sees is the face of his beloved. The dead still face of his beloved is the last thing that he sees before the vision just goes away. And he's like sad because he can't cry. I mean, I'm assuming his tear ducts don't work anymore. If he got his eyes burned out and shit, I doubt that he has tear ducts anymore. But even though he can't cry, he thinks to himself, 2 children, this is another world, like, and he can't summon a vision. He feels his body rejecting the future. Like he just rejects it. He doesn't want to see anymore. Like his self is like done. Although it is great that he has, this whole time he's been looking for a way to like make the vision different. And then now like there's twins, that's different from his vision. He really thought that it was just going to be a daughter. So it's like, well, I did something, like I changed something to some degree, which is fantastic for a guy who thinks he, knows everything. And so now we get to Lickna. She's like, I brought Lickna. And he's like, that's not Lickna. That's fucking face dancer, like the fucking jig is up. And the Lickna's like, is that Ghola? Is that a Ghola? First of all, before we start talking, is that a Ghola or is that a Duncan, Idaho I see behind you? Is that a Duncan, Idaho I see behind you? And they're like, yeah, it's a Duncan. And then so Scytale is like, yes. And then he gets into his attack pose. He's holding the babies hostage. He's got a knife saying, I'm gonna kill these fucking babies. And finally makes the Leilaxu offer. We've been waiting for this offer the whole time. And he's like, hey, you know, we can get you a Ghola, Cheney. We could get her flesh, and then you could have her back, and it's totally cool. And Paul is stalling for time. He knows he's not going to accept this, but he stalls for time, and he's like, Alia, bargain with this thing. I can't bargain a thing I can't see with. And he's just broken, you know, and he just goes and sits in the corner, and like she's dealing with a face dancer. She's kind of stalling for time too. And he, again, we talk more about meditation stuff. Paul brings himself to stillness within stillness. You know, he goes off into the corner and just becomes very, very still, you know. And when he does that, even though his vision is broken, he glimpses something and he's like, wait, I'm blinking. Like, what the fuck? I see something. What the fuck is going on? And this fucking guy is seeing through his baby's eyes. Seeing through his baby's eyes is so fucking weird and crazy and just like, yes, like give me more Frank Herbert. This is so fucking bonkers. I just can't even. This is so amazing. And I love that he sees Scytale and himself from the baby's perspective. He sees himself as this broken man in the corner that everyone's ignoring, because that's what happens when like people are like so abandoned to grief and stuff. Like it's just too much for other people to deal with, so they just kind of ignore. They're just like, ooh, like just don't, like this guy is just like too negative right now. Like nobody wants to deal with all this negativity. So everyone's just kind of ignoring him. But he and it's also interesting too that this is kind of a similar move that his mom made on Stilgar, like when they got caught by the Fremen originally, and she acts like she's weak for a second, which makes him like drop his guard just a little bit, just enough to where she can like twirl and then fucking like bah, like it's like the same shit that Jessica used against Stilgar. I feel like I thought that was really cool. Also, I love that Scytale's like, we want all your chom. Give me all your chom. And then Alia's like, all of our chom? Like, all of our chom? I don't want to give you all my chom. But Paul gets ready while they're talking about the choms. And he gets ready in the Bene Gesserit way. And he's ready to do the knife throw of his fucking life. Okay? Like, the knife throw of his life. And he had a really sick-ass knife throw earlier when Alia was fighting that fucking death machine. And he threw that fucking knife. So it's like, I love that we had that earlier in the book, so it kind of echoes that. I think that was like so great. And so he gets ready and he fucking throws that fucking knife right in that bitch's eye. Right in that fucking bitch's eye, and boom, you're dead, bro. Boom, get out of here, Scytale. And I love that Duncan was like, my lord, was that a part of your vision, you know? And he was just like, no. Like, because Duncan was like, whoa, like, that is crazy. But, like, did you know that was gonna happen? And, like, no. And I love that Paul is actually getting some surprises finally. I mean, he's been so bummed out about there being no surprises in his life. But, dang, there's been a lot of surprises in the past few minutes. And Ollie was like, oh, fuck, I was so tempted. I thought we were going to bring that Cheney back, you know? And he's like, who was not tempted? Like, we were all tempted. And so then his son, his son starts communicating with him through, like, letters in his awareness saying, you know, yes, like, my eyes, father, you know? Like, oh, you're using my eyes, dude. You're aware. Like, yes, father, look. You know, and his son has been preborn, and his daughter has also been preborn. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, there was no, like it must have been all that spice that Cheney was eating. Because remember, she had to eat all that fucking spice because, like, it was a way to get around all those contraceptives that Irulan had been feeding her. So she had been just, like, eating, drinking, taking spice all day, every day. And so I guess that awoken these babies in the womb. And again, too, I also like that he wipes his mouth. Like it says, it describes him like wiping the corner of his mouth, and it reminded me a lot of Otheim, you know, where Otheim is like drooling kind of out of his mouth a little bit, and like his wife kind of like wipes it up. You know, it's like kind of a nice echo there. I feel like where he's become like the veteran that's falling apart, and both the babies are apparently preborn with access to both their male and female lineage. so they've got it all. Okay, like they've got it all. These are some apex babies here. And they're like, oh, the babies can't focus, and Alia's like, I could focus at that age. Alia knows what's up. Like, nobody gets that these babies are preborn, and it's just like Alia knows. She's like, I could. I know what's going on right now. Although she doesn't know that they're like communicating already psychically with their dad and allowing their dad to use their fucking eyeballs, like because he's a part of their genetic lineage, so they're psychically fucking linked or some shit. I don't know, but it's fucking crazy and it's really fascinating. Yeah, these are some apex babies. And so now Paul is time for the naming, and he names his son Leto after his father. And now we have Leto riding again. We're going to give it another try. Duke Leto, who was unfairly cut short in the first book. And then he was cut short again when Leto, the son, was killed. So 3rd time's a charm, all right? We've had 2 Letos cut down too early. 3rd time's a charm. And guess what? This Leto lives a real long fucking full life, okay? Like, this Leto lives longer than, like, any motherfuckers, And I love that Paul was, like, trying in a way to, like, give his father, who was unfairly cut down, another chance at life, I think that's really great. So yeah, Leto was cut down twice only to grow back stronger. And then we also have, he names his daughter Ghanima, which, what a beautiful name. I have seriously thought about like naming a cat that or something. Like, I think that's such a beautiful name. And from the first book, it says, in the subtleties of the Fremen tongue, the word meant something acquired in battle, and with the added overtone that the something was no longer used for its original purpose, an ornament, a spearhead used as a curtain weight. And so he names his daughter Ghanima because in his vision, it was only supposed to be her. There was no Leto. There was just a daughter. But now that there's a son, it's like her original purpose is different. It's like, it is different. She's not going to be used for her original purpose. And so she is kind of like this ornament, this ornamental situation, which I think is like really fantastic. Instead of taking on godhood for herself, she really just becomes like an Atreides breeder, for her brother. Like, just, it's all, again, this is all, we got to get into this if we ever get to Dune Club 4. But so the water rite begins. They got to take the body because, they got to take her water for the tribe. That's how they roll. And Paul goes to his room because he's done. And then now we have Bajaz showing up for the second tempting. And I love that he says, by the tank in which I grew. Because, again, he's like, is that a Duncan, Idaho? Or is that a Ghola? What do we got going on here? And then they find out that it's a Duncan, and that the Ghola's memories can be restored. And he says, by the tank in which I grew, it can be done. I shall have my pasts, all of them. It needs only the right trigger. And here's a fun fact. Bajaz is what is known as a Leilaxu master, okay? And I think it's really funny because throughout this whole fucking book, he's telling us what the fuck he is. He's always saying, master, master. Like, and I think that's like, it's so subtle that, you'll miss it. But it's like, in the Leilaxu situation, you have masters, and they're like the upper class, like they're the upper class, and the face dancers are kind of like the lower, like working mule class. And so they're all dwarf-like. Like, all of the Leilaxu masters are very like small, and like they're tiny, and they have like little pointy teeth and shit. They're kind of childlike looking. And yeah, and these masters, what they've been doing is that they have been creating Gholas of themselves, like if you're in master status, then you get to keep coming back, and certain face dancers can become masters. And in fact, our boy Scytale, spoilers, eventually rises up the ranks and becomes a master himself. There is some more Scytale, but that's like Dune Club 5 and 6, okay? So that's like really far in the future. But yeah, this guy's a Leilaxu master, and so they he's been cloned several times. Like he keeps coming back and getting himself cloned or whatever, and he wants all of his pasts. He's been back several times. So yeah. Is there a Leilaxu middle class? Well, actually, okay. I would say that the face dancers are the middle class. The masters are the upper class. They're like management and like live, more privileged lives. Then you have like a middle class face dancer existence, which isn't too bad. You get to travel around, do some fun stuff, whatever. And then below that, it's like then you have their products, which are like, I mean, they don't get into more Leilaxu products until later. Because there's something called chair dogs that they come up with. Again, this is like in 5 and 6. And like chair dogs is so fucked up. It's like a sentient chair. It's like a living chair, but it doesn't have like, I don't know. I don't think it has eyes or nose or mouth. Like I don't know how they feed it or if it poops. I don't think that's the deal. No one want a pooping chair. But it's a living, warm chair that snuggles up to you. Like if you sit in it, it's furry too. It's a hairy, warm, comfortable living chair that snuggles up to you. And then they also produce something called sligs, which is kind of like a pig and a slug, and they eat trash, but they taste awesome, which is like most things. It's like crazy. Like shrimps eat trash, they taste awesome. It's like there's a lot of animal creatures out there that are like bottom feeders that for some reason taste delicious because I guess trash makes you taste good. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, so he's Bajaz is on the scene and he tempts for the second time, and Paul's just like, just kill him, like, because I'm gonna say yes, like I'm just so bummed out right now, like just take care of this bitch, and Duncan does him the kindness, gets rid of it, which I think it's interesting that he says I did him the kindness, because before when Bajaz programmed him, he's like, what are you trying to do? And he's like, a kindness, a simple kindness. And I don't know if Bajaz said a simple kindness because maybe in his prescience he knew that Duncan would kill him or something and say that, or whether it was Duncan like trying to be like, oh, fuck you, like as a little retort, even though the guy's already dead. I don't know, but I thought it was cool. But Paul says to Duncan, he's like, there are problems in this universe for which there are no answers. Nothing can be done. And his vision shatters. It's gone. It's completely gone. He's completely, no more visions for him. And I thought that was really beautiful, that it's like this ultimate problem solver of the universe. Like Paul is the ultimate problem solver of the universe. He's a Mentat. He's a Kwisatz Haderach. He's got all this shit going on for him. Apex human. And he's the tip of the pyramid, and he's here to like figure it out and like set us on a course that will ensure humanity's long-term survival. But he's still like, he finally comes to accept that even though he's been doing everything within his power to solve the problem of human survival and putting them on a path, he admits that there are problems in which there are no answers. Nothing can be done, And that reminds me more of the Zen Buddhism stuff where it's just like, don't do anything, It's like we make all of our problems by trying to solve them and like I don't know. It's so anti-Western thought because we're so yang energy, masculine, like go out there and make something of yourself and do something and solve these problems, I mean, it's like you're very much looked down upon. The term passive has a negative connotation to it, It's like, oh, passivity, like that's gross, like you should be out there doing something. When in fact, we may just be making our own problems and making them worse. The more we struggle and the more we try to fix these things, like we make more problems. You fix one problem and you create 5 other fucking problems. And that if we just chilled the fuck out, that maybe things would just kind of like work themselves out, like maybe we would find a flow. Nothing can be done. You have to accept that nothing can be done. And I don't know. I thought that was great. So we go to our last chapter. Paul goes to commit suicide, Alia left alone. So our next chapter opens with Duncan, and he's looking out over the desert, and this is the place that Tandis brought him. Tandis is a Fremen who apparently after Duncan left, because Paul was really negative and he didn't want to deal with it, and he's like, this guy needs some time alone. Paul asked Tandis, he says, I am blind as fuck. Take me to the desert. I'm going to walk into the desert of my own free will. I know it must be done. I'm totally down with it. It's super cool. And then Duncan finds out that Paul is left, and he demands that they take him where they left Paul, because he just cannot let an Atreides die. That's what I'm saying. Like, this guy cannot let that happen. Like, not on his fucking watch. Like, that is not what he is here to protect motherfucking Atreides. He cannot not do that. And you know, and he's kind of pissed, you know, about all this. And Tandis is like, dude, he was blind. What do you want? Like, he was blind. Just like, doesn't even get it. Like, why would you be upset? Like, he was blind. What the fuck, bro? And Tandis tells him that Paul said that the future no longer needed his physical presence. Now I am free. You know, Paul is free, and he feels great. He feels great. The burden of responsibility is off of him. He is not dealing with any more bullshit. He has had a stomach full of bullshit since the first book. He's dealt with so much tragedy and misery and fucked up shit. Although he says it was mostly sweet, you know. I mean, there was a lot of sweet moments, don't get me wrong. But he's broken by experience because there's so much pressure on him. Again, like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. He's had so much fucking an unimaginable burden and pressure put upon him. And he's a human being. He's done. And he just wants to, like, I'm free of it now. It's your problem. It's your problem. I'd rather just go in the fucking desert and die rather than deal with this shit. Like, I don't fucking care. Peace. I'm out. Fuck this. I'm gone. And Duncan thinks about being with Paul on Caladan, because, like, he helped to raise Paul when he was a young lad, when he was a young master. And I love that finally we get a little Gurney Halleck mention where he thinks about Gurney was there. Like, they went to some fish market and they saw, like, the fish, and Gurney was playing the balisette, and he just thinks about this, like, great fucking day they had when they were on Caladan growing up. And he thinks Gurney Halleck is going to blame me for this tragedy. Like, he's like, fuck. Gurney's still out there, and he's going to fucking be so bummed on me when he finds out. You know, he's going to fucking put this on me. Which we get a little bit of Gurney Halleck in Children of Dune, I believe, if my memory serves correctly. We get some Gurney Halleck action. We get some fucking Jessica action. The two characters who are conspicuously not present during all of this. We get some of their goodness next book. But while he's thinking about what a tragedy this is, he also starts thinking, well, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad to run in the desert and have an entire planet for a tomb. You know, he's an entire planet for a tomb. And I love that he thinks to himself, Mentat, solve thyself. You know, Mentat, solve thyself. Like, solve the problem of yourself, you know. And it's just like, fuck, so good. Which echoes the physician, heal thyself. You know, it's like, if you're a fucking physician, heal yourself. Like, can you heal yourself? Can you heal that? Because then if you can heal that, then you can probably, you know, heal the human race too. But you got to, like, learn how to do that. But it's impossible. You know, it's like, it's like this very humbling thought, because it's an impossible thing in a certain way. And it also reminded me of when Alia was fucked up. She says to him, nature abhors prescience, which is a play on the term nature abhors a vacuum, where, you know, when there's a space, any sort of vacuum space, nature will fill it with something, you know. So say, you know, like, this happens to all of us all the time. We're like, okay, we got to do all these things, and then once we have all these things done, then we're going to be good to go, and we're going to be on easy street, and we're just going to roll, and it's going to be fine, and, like, blah, blah, blah. And so say you do all those things, you check off all the boxes, XYZ, you get your big payday, you're chilling the fuck out. You're like, all right, now it's like time to coast on easy street. Things are going to be cool now. But then, like, as soon as you get that money, like, your car breaks down or something, you know, like, something fucking happens to where it's like, oh, you can't rest on your laurels here. You gotta fucking more problems to solve, bitch. Like, get off your ass. It's time to keep going. Like, you're not going to get any breaks in this life. That's kind of what nature abhors a vacuum is about. You know, it's like how life won't let you just chill the fuck out and do nothing. You know, like, you're constantly going to be challenged by life. And and so it's like nature abhors prescience. I thought was pretty fun. But anyway, so Duncan starts, like, thinking, and he starts, like, going off in these kind of, like, tangents where he starts thinking about emerald cabins and Lorelei hair and all this shit. And again, Duncan is so fucking aware. He's so fucking aware that he stops himself from going down this thought path. And he thinks to himself, rather than face my failure, I would disappear within myself, you know? And I thought that was, again, he stops himself and he's like, the instant of that almost plunge remained in his memory. Examining it, and like he starts examining it. Like he stops himself from falling into a thought track, backs out of it, looks at it, examines what was going on, like examines the workings of his own mind. And in that moment when he starts examining it, he starts to feel one with the universe, you know, like he finds some sort of clarity in all of this. He also begins to see Paul as one with the desert, you know, as he feels one with the universe. He feels that Paul has now become one with the desert. Paul is now one with the universe. And he has a prescient moment. He sees that the people of the future would speak of Paul in terms of seas, despite a life soaked in dust. Water would follow him. His flesh floundered, but he swam on. You know, people are going to say that he abandoned his flesh, but he kept going. And I thought that was really fascinating because, again, we've talked about this several times as, you know, if Paul is an analog for Christ, and if Christ was a herald of the Piscean age, which takes about 2,000 years, zodiological fucking deal, because that's why his symbol is a fish, you know, Pisces is a fish, so he was the Piscean herald of this age. I was looking into it last night. And I found that that if you look at the years, and this is in standard Earth years, obviously, you know, you could fucking change this, but if you think about it, like, okay, so each zodiological era is 2,000 years, right? So you go from the age of Pisces, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, then after that's the age of Capricorn, after that, you know, it's like Sagittarius, it like goes fucking around, and it takes about 2,000 years for each era, okay? So Dune potentially, and this is some fuzzy math, but what I found online was Dune would be around the time of 23,352 years after like 1960 something. You know, it would be like it would be the year 23,352. And so if it takes 2,000 years for each era to go around, then that would place Paul in the Piscean, kind of like the Piscean age has come back around, you know, and then it would make sense that his son Leto would take over as a fucking worm god, and like he takes over for a long time, but he's definitely like such a Aquarian avatar in a lot of ways, because like a lot of there's a lot of I subscribe to a lot of fucking memes on astrology meme accounts. And there's a lot of, I see a joke about Aquarians think they're God, like all the time. Like that's a big thing. It's like Aquarians just think they're God. They're just like, I'm God, whatever. And honestly, yeah, I'm totally in on that. And like his son would be the herald of like an Aquarian age, because his son would just become God. He's like, you know what? I'm God. Fuck you. You know, it's like, oh, it's so perfect. So I think there's a line here. I don't know if it's on purpose. It might be total bullshit, but I feel like there's something here. So, okay, anyway, so Stilgar comes up to our bro Duncan, and he is like, Stilgar, he will not be found, yet all men will find him. You know, he's like, Duncan, stop searching for him. You're not going to find him. He's become an idea now. It's over, you know. And Duncan's like, the desert deifies him, yet he was an interloper. He brought an alien chemistry to this planet. And then Stilgar comes back and he's like, the desert imposes its own rhythms, my friend. You know, it's like, yeah, he came here, he changed things, but we changed him too. You know, like we changed him too. We took him. He was cast out of the Imperium. The Fremen people took him in, you know. And then he's like, but he was not born. You know, Duncan's like, he wasn't born a Fremen, you know. And he's like, Stilgar's like, I don't give a fuck. We claim him. He's ours. You know, he is ours. And he says, all men are interlopers, all old friend, you know, like all men are interlopers. And I thought that was great because it's true, you know. It's like, even though, you know, yeah, technically he wasn't a true Fremen, he wasn't born a Fremen, whatever. It's like, you know, he was absolutely accepted in there, and it's like, and everyone is interlopers. Like, we're all interlopers. Like, we're all aliens. We're all space brains here, you know, like, whatever. But then, like, you know, Duncan's still waxing poetic. He's like, he's in Atreides, he won't give up. You know, he's not going to give up. And like, Stilgar's like, you know what? Like, you got bigger problems. Like, Alia is freaking out. She requires your presence, bro. Like, you know, stop worrying about him. Like, the desert will take care of Paul, you know? Like, don't, like, you need to worry about, like, Alia because, like, she's freaking out and, like, none of us know what to do with her. And, like, you're the only person who has any handle on this bitch, okay? Because there's no one in the universe who can tell this bitch what to do at all. Like, you know, she's just so above everybody, you know? It's like, you need to fucking take care of this. And, but I love how he describes that Alia whipped all the nabes into line and everyone takes her orders, even him. And she orders the Edric to be killed, Korba to be killed, and Gaius Helen Mohim to be killed, even though Paul says don't kill the Reverend Mother, you know. And I love that he was like, you slew a Reverend Mother, and he's like, I disobeyed Paul just as Alia knew I would, you know. I take her orders now. I disobeyed what he said, and now I do what she said. I thought that was really great. And he thinks about judgment. I love judgment strategy from the Atreides manuals. I love that he mentioned that Atreides have manuals where they teach people about their thoughts and feelings and philosophies on how government works. And there's something called judgment strategy where people are subordinate to the government, but the ruled influenced the rulers, you know. And it's like, again, it's like the day the flesh shapes and the flesh shapes the day, you know. It's this whole thing, and that's so true. I mean, that's something that we should really all take a moment to think about. It's like, yeah, the people are subordinate to government, we're subordinate to government, but we absolutely influence the rulers, you know. Like, our collective thoughts and feelings absolutely influence the people in power. And so now Alia is the regent. I don't want to say queen regent. I want to say queen regent because Game of Thrones, but she's the regent. She is the government. All of the burden of responsibility has fallen on her. You know, when Paul pieced the fuck out, he pretty much left her holding the fucking bag. You know, it's like, all right, well, your turn. You take it for a while until my kids get older, and then they can fucking take over. And I love that they talk about how the Leylaksu, the Bene Leylaks and the Bene Gesserit overplayed their hands and had lost, were discredited. The Kissarit, shaken by Korba's death, is like come back into line. And Paul's voluntary self-sacrifice, acceptance of customs, had ensured Fremen loyalty to House Atreides. So, and again, we're talking about, like, Paul is an analog for Christ. It's like, well, Paul sacrifices himself. He willingly sacrifices himself in the end. You know, he, like, willingly goes out there and does his thing, and he's like, all right, I'm going to do this for you. I'm doing it for you guys, but I'm also doing it because now you guys are really going to fucking be down with my house, and you'll always be loyal to our people, you know, and I need to make sure that my family is taken care of and that you guys are going to fucking help them because they're going to need help. You know, I love that he's like, Paul's entire life was a struggle. This is Alia was telling him. Paul's entire life was a struggle to escape the jihad and its deification. At least now he's free. He chose this. And, you know, he's talking to Alia now. Alia's freaking out. She's like, my brother's an idiot. He's like, don't say that. He's like, I don't care. He's a fool. I love how people keep calling him the fool. We'll talk about that in just a second. But, and she's like, oh, and I've got to save Irulan's life. Ugh. I got to save that fucking idiot. You know, she's crying, carrying on, saying she loved him, she didn't even know it, you know, saying she's gonna fuck the Bene Gesserit and she's just gonna, like, teach his children from now on, you know. And she reeks of trustworthiness. And I thought it was really cool because it made me think of this book, The 48 Laws of Power. And it talks about how, here's a thing from the 48 Laws of Power. It says, be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy, and he will be more loyal than a friend, because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them, you know? And it's just like, Irulan is the perfect example of this specific law, power law, of, you know, hiring an enemy because she will be more loyal to a friend. She reeks of trustworthiness. Like, she was a total piece of shit who was a part of this whole fucking scenario, and now she's like, no, I want to work for you guys, and then if they hire her, she will remain loyal to them. I thought that was really cool. And Irulan's defection puts the Atreides heirs out of the Bene Gesserit reach. Now that she's done with the Bene Gesserit, she's no longer going to be feeding them information. So now that also ensures that they're cool. So it's like Paul has really, on every level, Paul figured out a way to make all of it work as best he could with the shitty circumstances he had. And I think that he did a fantastic job. I think we need to all clap for Paul. Great job. You did it. You did it, Paul. You fucking did it. Fucking solved this. This is a fucking knot of a problem, and he fucking solved it. Being the universe's, you know, apex problem solver. Wow. Just hats off to you. And the book ends with Alia saying, I need you, Duncan. You know, like, love me, you know. And it's like, love me. I need you, love me. And he's like, I do. You know, and she's like, I know, Duncan, love knows love. And again, she doesn't say, I love you too, you know, like, she doesn't say it. She's like, I need you to love me. And he's like, okay, I love you. And then she's like, love knows love, you know, like, I know, Duncan, love knows love. That's like the closest she can get to admitting that she's fallen for this person. Because she's such a fucking crazy power bitch that, like, that's some real shit. And then I love that, like, after she says that, he thinks to himself, it was as though he lurched into a room of familiar people only to realize too late that he knew none of them. And it's like, oh shit, you know, it's like, as the Ghola, as hate, you know, he comes among these people and it's like, oh, he has these memories of Paul, and like he thinks that, like, there's this room of familiar, I know these people. And then now that he's Duncan, and now that Paul's fucking gone, it's like he realizes that he's like, I don't know any of these motherfuckers. Like, I'm fucking alone here. Like, whoa, like, that's like pretty crazy. And then she asks him again, power question, will you come with me? You know, it's like, will you come with me? And he's like, wherever you lead, my lady. And she leads him to the place of safety at the base of the mountain in the shadows, you know. And it's like, oh, so good. So good. But talking about, I love that even in the epilogue. So let's read the epilogue. Let's read the epilogue here. This is the Ghola's hymn. So I believe that Hate or Duncan, one of them wrote this. I guess maybe both of them wrote this. Wrote, no bitter stench of funeral still for Muad'Dib. No knell nor solemn rite to free the mind from avaricious shadows. He is the fool saint, the golden stranger living forever on the edge of reason. Let your guard fall, and he is there. His crimson peace and sovereign pallor strike into our universe on prophetic webs to the verge of a quiet glance. There, out of bristling star jungles, mysterious, lethal, an oracle without eyes, cat's paw of prophecy whose voice never dies. Shy Halud, he awaits thee upon a strand where couples walk and fix eye to eye the delicious ennui of love. He strides through the long cavern of time, scattering the fool self of his dream. And so he's called a fool several times at the very end of the book. He's called a fool several times. In the very end, he's called the fool saint. Alia calls him a fool, says the entire universe will say it before she's done. And also, there's some other fool stuff. And it reminded me of, like, the tarot. There's the fool card in the tarot. And in, all right. Anyways, and so it reminds me of, like, the tarot and, like, the Fool's Leap. And that reminded me of Papa Moore, Alan Moore, where he talked about in the Mindscape of Alan Moore, he said, quitting my day job and starting my life as a writer was a tremendous risk. It was a fool's leap, a shot in the dark, but anything of any value in our lives, whether that be a career, a work of art, a relationship, will always start with such a leap. And in order to be able to make it, you have to put aside the fear of failing and the desire of succeeding, and it's like, that's what Paul did. He took that fool's leap. He leapt right into the fucking desert. It's like right into the desert, just like blind as fuck. Oh wow, I just love it. I think that's so true. And I love that they call him a fool. And he is like, again, it's like he thinks of like, is this the golden genesis of man? And at the very beginning of the tarot, the Fool card is the 0. It doesn't have a numerical value. The numerical value is nothing. But it starts off the entire deck, and it represents all potential. And so Paul represents this Fool card. He is the all potential. He is the man who jumps off the cliff into the unknown. He's the first one to become the Kwisatz Haderach and see through time and see future possible timelines. He's the one who's taken leap after leap after leap. And it's fantastic, and I love that he's called a fool several times. It made me think of, and they talk about the Dune Tarot in this, so it's like, of course, like, I don't know how learned Frank Herbert was on the tarot, but I'm sure he did his fucking research. That guy was a research monster. That guy was like into all the things, like anything, all the things. Mysticism, I'm in. Like, let me get in on this. So I feel like there's, probably a little bit of, he knows what's going on. And I took a big sip here. And yeah. So yeah, the leap of faith. Simon Arsenault is the leap of faith from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Exactly. And this was like his final death-defying leap into the unknown. He leaps into the desert, and we will hear more about what happens. What are the ramifications of all of Paul's actions next summer for Dune Club 3, Children of Dune. I'm so excited to share that with you next year. I hope that all of you guys come back and we can go back to Arrakis yet again for another bunch of crazy shenanigans. Like I said, we're going to see some Lady Jessica in the mix. We got a little bit of Gurney Halleck coming back. We finally learn about what abomination is and what it means, and what the Bene Gesserit, they call Alia an abomination. What does that mean? Well, we fucking find out, okay? We fucking find out. Things go wrong, and we have the thrilling conclusion to Alia's tragic story, because these Atreides are tragic motherfuckers. These Atreides are #1 tragic bitches in the universe. They are the most exciting and most saddest. Yeah, and then we also get Leto and Ghanima, of course. So we got those two new Atreides in the mix. Duncan's gonna still be around, and there'll be a lot more shenanigans, going on here. And guess what? Leto and Ghanima are born preborn. They're born abomination. So what's gonna happen with that? Well, we'll see next summer for Dune Club 3. Long live the readers. Long live the readers, guys. We did it. We did another one. We did it, guys. Fucking Dune Messiah. I'm so excited. Yeah, you guys are the 300. I'm really fucking stoked that we did this. Just the original Dune Club came out of a wild night of need and desperation, the idea for this, and to see it flourish and continue on in this way has been so fulfilling on so many levels. Like, it's pretty crazy. Of all the things that I've been up to and all the things I've been doing in my life, this is one of the things that I'm most proud of. And yeah, I'm so glad that you guys have been down to come back to Arrakis with me and hang out on the desert planet for a long time and let me tell you all my wackadoo ideas about all this stuff, because I just, I don't, there's not a lot of peeps, you can really get into Dune like this. Not a lot of people around you can really get into Dune like this, and it's like, unfortunately, the only other Dune fanatic I know is my uncle, and he's not really fun to talk to about it as much. So I'm glad I have you guys. Let's take. I really also want to do all 6 books. In fact, somebody was tweeting about it yesterday about if we do one book a year. If we do one Dune book a year, and I know a lot of you are going to go ahead and you're going to go read Children of Dune because you're like on that tip and you like want to keep going. And hey, if you want to do that, I certainly, yes, like if you want to keep going, read the next book. It's fantastic. Just make sure that you want to come back and read it again with me, and then we can talk about it. So, but I absolutely plan to do a 3rd Dune Club, and hopefully, and if that goes well and we have, you guys come back and support it. Cause again, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like the most people are going to turn out for the first one, but then it's like, as we go along, there's going to be less and less and less people. So hopefully if we can just stay with our 300, you know what I'm saying? Like if we can have our people, come back, buy the box, fucking keep supporting this shit, then I'll keep doing it. Cause I would love to get all the way to, Chapter House Dune. And that would be 2022. So we would have Dune Club 3 in 2019, God Emperor in 2020, which is so hilarious. Like, I don't know, what a perfect number, 2020 for fucking God Emperor. That's the thing. Like, I think we can make Dune Club 3 happen. I'm not worried about making Dune Club 3 happen. It's Dune Club 4 that I'm like, are people really gonna want to go there with me? Because now you're not going to have all the characters you know and love from the first 3 books, like there's going to be a whole new bag of cats, a whole new bunch of characters, and like a lot of people just, they're down they want to see Paul, and they want to see Alia, and they want to see Lady Jessica and all that stuff, and it's just like, that's cool, but like, trust me, like there's really fucking cool characters in 4, 5, and 6, like don't even worry about it, like you're going to fucking love it. So if I can get to 4, that would be awesome. And then, we would, in 2021 would be Heretics, and 2022 would be Chapter House. And 2022, that's pretty fucking sick. So, God Emperor is awesome, guys. Thank you so much for supporting God Emperor, because so many people shit all over God Emperor. It's too weird for them. They're not hard enough for Dune Club. They're not hard enough. They were like, I stop at worm gods. I can't keep going. And it's like, no, that's when it really gets like even more interesting. Like that's when it gets even fucking crazier. Like some of the best Dune quotes of all time are in God Emperor. And now that we're done with Dune Messiah, I'm going to be working with Akira the Dawn on Dune Wave Messiah. I'm going to go through the book. I'm going to find some of my favorite quotes. And then we're going to record some stuff and then put it out whenever he has time to put it out. But he's like super, like very efficient worker person. So, we'll see. I don't know. I don't have a specific date, but, that'll be, the deal. And also if you're interested in contributing to my ideas on what should go into Dune Wave Messiah, feel free to send me some of your favorite quotes on Twitter. You can just put, hashtag DuneWave2 or something, and then let me know some of your favorite quotes. I was thinking I think it'd be cool to do a Ghola song. It'd be cool to do an Alia song, like have some Alia quotes. It'd be cool to do some other stuff. Really excited. Yeah. So, wow. Dark Sage says, I laughed when my friend told me he wouldn't recommend the Dune series. He believes it has nothing to take away from the books. What? Tell Bobo he doesn't know what he's talking about. Is your friend named Bobo? Is that who you're talking to? Stop talking to these Bobos. You can't hold the whirlwind? You can't hold the whirlwind? He couldn't hold it, apparently. Cheney love song would be good. That would be good. Yeah, that would be good. Face Dancer remix, totally. Like there's so many ideas. This has been such the best part of my year. Dune Club is the best part of my year, in my opinion. It makes summer so much more fun and exciting. And so okay, guys, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break, get some more water. We're going to come back. We're going to take Patreon questions, and then we'll take some of your questions here, and then we'll go from there, guys. We'll go from there. So, all right, I will be right back.